Good morning, everyone. As you can see, my thesis is about the experiences of ECE teachers who are working in New Zealand. Teachers have migrated from one country to another for different reasons. And sometimes they just cross the cultural boundaries and there they have to adjust. Sometimes these adjustments become too critical. The goal of this study is to understand the shared experiences of these participants in context of cultural adaptation. As we can see the data, in 2013, 232 million people, approximately 3.2% of the whole population, is living outside their home country. And if we look at the data from the New Zealand, we can see that 4.6 billion population reached in 2015. And if we look at the teachers, data about how many teachers are here in New Zealand working in ECE centers is 4.7%, which is quite high as compared to the other countries. And Bedfordshire and Bishop also shows that the many nations there has been an acute shortage of teachers. And Harvard study shows that there is an influx of teachers in English-speaking countries. Davis says that teachers have a social mission. They are responsible for passing on the culture from one generation to another. As we can see, the early years are learning years. What teachers know and do is one of the most important influence on these students. And these students are the future of the world. According to Nedelson and Slater, they said that there is a need to understand the challenges, the experiences, and the successful strategies these immigrant teachers, they adopt, and the phenomena of teachers migration is growing worldwide. It's not only the New Zealand, but if we look at the whole world, teachers are coming from Indian subcontinent, I will say, to these countries and settling down, trying to settling down there because the opportunities are many, and that's why they shifted to different countries. The goal of this study is also to understand and share the experiences of New Zealand ECE teachers from Indian subcontinent in the context of cultural adaptation. I believe that shared experiences will help us to strengthen our awareness and competence. This study will give a platform to these immigrant teachers to put forth their views in front of us, how they manage here in New Zealand, even though there is a different culture boundaries. India have a different culture strategies and New Zealand have different. And not only at the culture, but also ECE centers, the education system. Both the education systems are different. My research questions are, what are the experiences of ECE teachers in creating and managing their classroom environment? What strategies and approaches they have used to adopt this new culture adjustment? What strategies and approaches have they used in managing their classrooms? What are the challenges they face in culture adaptation in New Zealand? When we look for the literature review, I divided my literature review into three parts. The first is immigrant teachers and their culture adjustment. Second is multiculturalism in schools and immigrant teachers in New Zealand. Culture adaptation can be associated with adopting a new culture, new accent, new customs, traditions, learning the rules and expectations of the new social system. Even the Pillar and Jane says that when we shift to some other country, there are different rules and expectations of the school and the education system. Academic dissonance and the culture shock hinder the professional socialization of these teachers. Sia, Bishop, and Pillar, Jane, and according to these authors, it is difficult while the positioning and commitment of the migrant can facilitate their smooth transition into their new situations. Immigrant teachers and cultural adjustments. There are few authors who research on these topics. Seber, Kennedy, and Ballet. His study shows us that transition between China and Canada, and it shows that how these teachers coming from the China to Canada, they shape their new identities. Sometimes they have to forget their old one and they have to live in the present to change their identity how they did that. And Seber's study shows that how much support they got it from the school authorities. Kennedy shows the reconstruction of the new knowledge, because whatever knowledge you have there in your home country may be different from the country where in the host country. So you have to create your new knowledge, you have to adopt, and sometimes your past and present do not match. Statistics shows that the enrollment of children from culturally diverse background in ECE centers have grown remarkably. If we see the New Zealand curriculum, it supports the cultural diversity in classrooms. Multiculturalist teachers in the schools, there are additional benefits of these migrant teachers because they bring knowledge, new ideas, new knowledge, new experience, which they can help to improve the system where they are working now. So Goldson, Shore, Basika, and Hargever, all these authors and researchers, they emphasize on the cultural diversity in school system. And the studies, immigrant teachers in New Zealand, how they experience and what studies done on these topics have can tell us about what they are experiencing. So these studies are telling us only about the barriers of information, misunderstanding, denial of opportunities, non-recognition of overseas qualification, and inaccessibility to the job market. All these studies are just telling us about these, but the study which I am doing is on the ECE centers, the teachers who are working with small kids, none of them has pointed out how they adopt this culture, because these students, these small students are future of this world. So we have to look for these teachers, what they are doing, how they are doing. There is a research gap because, as I told you, like all the studies till now I have gone through in the literature, they are emphasizing on the experiences about the employment, about the credential, about the discrimination, about the language. So you can see like there is, it is a demand of the time, like we can focus on these teachers also who are working with the small kids. My research design, actually research design tells us how to plan my research, how I'm going to do, what methods I'm going to use, what analysis, how I'm going to analyze my data. So my research design is like this. The elements of the research design, when I started this study, I have the three options: qualitative, quantitative, and mixed approach. And for the sampling population and how much, what sampling techniques I'm going to use, how big is going to be my sample size, and the methods of data analysis, what I am going to use to analyze my data, data collections, tools, methods, and time and place where I'm going to collect my data, what time is there, how much time I can devote on collecting my data, and how much time I have to put for my analysis. So all these things I'm looking forward. Because I have these three options, but what I find out, what I like is the qualitative research approach, because qualitative approach tells us how to analyze, how to dig into the experiences of human beings. It is more related to these factors, because quantitative, if we talk about, they are more for the numberings. But when you wanted to know about some behavioral factors, you should know about qualitative research, because that will help you. You cannot count that behavior in the numberings. And I'm using narrative approach to collect my data. Narrative methods can be considered real-world measures, because this is going to help us to measure what they have gone through, what is their lived experiences. And as we know, that storytelling is not a new thing, it's an old age, like from the, I think, when the human was in the caves also, they just share their experience through their stories. And that's how we fill our gap in our life. With these stories, we get some new knowledge, we get some new experiences from these people, and then sometime in our life, we try to implement these on us. My participants will be 10 to 15, and these are all working in ECE centers, and they should be registered teachers. Data collections. For the data collection, I'm looking forward for interview. Some probing questions will be used because I'm not interested in giving them a set of questions and they will just answer these, because we are looking for the stories, their experiences in the way of story. Then I will just record it with the consent of these participants, and then I will analyze this data. NVivo software is going to help me to analyze my data, and with the NVivo, I'm also going to use Bronfenbrenner model also, which have 4 parts. Like first is micro, which is related to the behavioral, and then the mesosystem, which is related to the behavioral and the social life, and macro system, political and social influences. All these 4 parts of this model is going to help me to analyze my data. How these outer system and the immediate environment can affect on these teachers with the adjustment in this new system. Thematic analysis will be used because I'm going to find out the themes out of my data, and coding will be started as I'm going to use the NVivo, and NVivo is depend on Open, Excel, and sorry for that, I forgot the third one. So there's a 3 parts in NVivo which I'm going to use to make my themes, my coding, and organizing my data. Ethical issues, I will be following the university guidelines for ethical issues. I already got the approval from ethics committee, and within few days I'm going to start my collection of data. And for the summary, I will conclude that it is essential to study the topic due to the lack of research in this area. From the rationales of my study in conjunction with the literature review, collectively proves the purpose of my research. It is vital to conduct this study as a clear research gap is present and will eventually benefit the understanding of ECE immigrant teachers. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Any questions for Amrit regarding her research?
Yeah.
Like when you will conduct a personal interview with the teachers, so the outcome, like what they are sharing their experiences, how are you going to sum it up and how are you going to find it out? Like, okay, is it some positive criteria or negative?
No, actually, see, when I will take the interview, I am going to record it and then transcribe it. After reading all these transcriptions, I will find out what is the main things there. So I will just find out the main themes from there, then I will collect them, combine them, 2, maybe 3. It depends on how many themes I can get it from one interview.
Okay, so you will be summarizing into themes, like
yes,
whatever the experience are shared.
Yeah, I will just code them, and then I will just bring out the themes out of my data, and then I will try to answer my question, what is like experience, sharing the experiences of these teachers.
Positive and negative?
Yes, that can be. Maybe some have very good experience, maybe some have some bad experiences. So we can see like how we can sort out their problems. We can suggest them, okay, the newcomers are coming up and they can take the advantages of these research, and maybe their transition will become more smooth as compared to them.
Could be based on like time section as well, like how it started, how it changed over time.
Actually, my participants are who are working here and who have the experience in India as well. So they can compare themselves. Maybe their transition is very smooth. Because whatever I saw in the literature, they have mainly the issues are language. But in India, as it is, you know that Britishers have already ruled on India, and they have the English background very good. Even the rickshaw pullers, they know the English. So you can see like if a person is educated, obviously they know the English. English is foundation, like foundation are very good. Strong foundation of English, so they do not feel like they are having some issues with the language, but they must have, maybe, I don't know, maybe they have some issues with the cultural adaptation. So I'm looking for only the particular thing about the culture, not about any barriers.
Use of language also goes a bit this way, that way.
Yeah.
Communication might come.
Yeah, sometimes accent is a problem, even though you know the English, but your accent is not okay. You know that USA, UK, and if you see the New Zealand accent is totally different. So English, knowing a language is not enough. So, and that always come when you live there. So it's like a matter of time.
So, like, you could interviewing 15 EC teachers working in
Yes,
Australia.
yes.
And you said they're like, are they qualified EC teachers
Yes.
from New Zealand universities, or are they qualified from Indian universities?
No. Actually, India, we do not have anything like for EC centers. You know that only in the cities we have play centers, right? And here you can see the difference. Here you can put your kid even you are a 0 age. But in India, we have to take like 2.5, I think, 3 years. 3-year-old can go in the play center, not before that. And the other difference is in Indian culture, we cannot allow mom to go outside for 1 month or 2 months. But here, because every woman is working woman, they have to go out. So that's little different from India and New Zealand in EC centers specifically.
So, like, all the 15 are qualified.
Registered here,
Yeah.
but they should have an experience in India as well. Maybe in play school.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm really interested, are you saying that in India it would be unusual for a woman to go outside a month or 2 after she'd given birth?
Yeah.
They would stay at home.
Yeah, they stay home.
Right, yeah, that would be very unusual in New Zealand. I mean, you can birth in hospital and you're home within 24 hours.
Yeah,
You
but
know, you're-
no, they have some rituals and all, which they have to perform within that period of time. All the relatives get together there and they have big party. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Not in all states.
Not at all.
yeah, some of,
Like
many.
north side is
North side is tour visit, and I think in eastern side also.
Not in South, actually.
south. It's not. I think.
South, they have totally different culture. Yeah. Any other question, please? Anything? Thank you.
The postgraduate sector, I'd like to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And a small token of
Thank you.
appreciation.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
And good luck with your